Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us and for joining our third Zoom meeting webinar in our global conversation series with our Export Delaware family. I'm Beth Pomper from the state of Delaware, Export Delaware, and my colleague Emma Potler is our Director of Marketing. And Cynthia Kane is on the line. Cynthia Kane leads our legal corporate division. And she works with having firms from around the world come and incorporate here in Delaware. Good morning, Cynthia. And it's my pleasure to have with us this morning our trade representative from Latin America, Miguel de Regil. Miguel is based in Mexico City, and he handles Latin America for us. He's great for Delaware. He's a chemical engineer and worked as Vice President of Latin American sales for Rubbermaid for, I think, 20 years, Miguel. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
So we're very happy to have him with us this morning. And our next speaker will be our very first trade representative to our Delaware family, Ludo Ortuno. Ludo is with CDEP. He's the principal of CDEP, and he's based in Montreal. And Ludo also has an office in Toronto and a fantastic staff that we've had the pleasure of working with. And Ludo is multilingual, and he speaks French and Spanish, and I think a little bit of Russian, if I'm not mistaken. And we're very happy to have Ludo with us this morning. And then finally, we will have Jewel Lindsay. Jewel is joining us from the SBA in Washington, D.C. And Jewel is the state of Delaware's program manager for all of our funding and our grants that pay for our entire export initiative. So we're very happy to have Jewel join us this morning. For those of you that, we have a lot of familiar faces on the line, yet we have some companies that are new to us, and we welcome you. I'd also like to introduce, we have Linda Conlin, President of the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia, and Dino Ramos, COO from the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia, and Dale Foote as well on the line. And we have Andrea Townrow. She is the director of the Quebec Trade Office in Philadelphia. And they're fantastic partners, and we work together as well to increase exports for Delaware and Greater Philadelphia businesses. Happy to let you know that Export Delaware, we have hit our $450 million mark in sales for small and medium-sized businesses over the last 4 years that Emma and I have been working on the program. And we've created 27 jobs in Delaware, so we're very proud of that. And we look forward to working with all of you. So I will turn it over to Miguel first. And Miguel, would you please talk to us and let us know what's happening in Mexico and in Latin America?
Okay, perfect. Let's start with just a quick information regarding the four countries I will talking about. I will be talking about Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile. So Emma, okay, thank you. Let's start with the first slide. Please pass to the next one. Okay, let's talk something about the details about Mexico. Mexico has a big population, that's 126.5 million, and it's the 15th economy in the world. In the 2020, the economy growth forecast was 1.5 before the pandemic. Now is -3% because of the pandemic. Inflation rate is 3.5, and the main economic sectors is manufacturing industry. It's oil that is completely down right now, but automobile is great. In Mexico, after the US, Mexico is the second producer of cars in Latin America, in America. Textile, mining, IT, tourism, construction services, agricultural, everything. So you can really think in Mexico as a good partner. We had 5 trade missions in Mexico, all of them very successful, and we are looking forward to have more of them in the next years. So please pass to the next. Okay, let's see. Okay, now we have the next. I think the most important part in Mexico, as it will be in the world, is in the world and will be in the world, is that the COVID-19 impacts everything. So the economy, the work, and everything. So at this moment, all the non-essential industries are closed. So in Mexico, we expect to open by July. At the end of this month, we will be opening gradually, depending the places where they have a very low incidence of COVID-19. So the needs at this moment are basically medical and medical supplies. Mexico is needed as everywhere in Latin America for medical supplies for the situation. So, but we can talk about how the pandemic will influence future business. So at this moment, it's too soon to say. Nobody knows what will happen. Everybody is learning about this disease, and maybe the first thing we are looking for is to have a vaccines against that. But it will change all the way we used to make business. So now it's different. So we can do and we'll start searching for potential customers, partners, or distributors, as we always do with you, but long distance always. So we can set meetings by Skype, by Zoom, or Hangouts Meet. So we can start right now making business to be prepared when the market will be open. So we can do everything for you from market research for looking for the right partners or right distributors, and start making contacts with them. And as soon as they will start working, we can start working with them. So now let's talk about Colombia. Colombia has a population, it's less than half of Mexico. There's 50 million. And it's the 39th economy in the world. So the forecast of growth in this year was 3.4, and now is -2. Nobody knows at this moment which will be the final number in all the countries in Latin America. So the inflation rate is 3.3, and you can see the main economic sectors: oil, textiles, mining, agricultural, construction, commerce, services, tourism. We had one trade mission in Colombia last year, 2 years ago, and we were very successful. It was very interesting because we have companies from Delaware, from a company who sells flutes that we got from them good contacts to companies that they are in contact, and they are selling things for the mass merchant sector. So let's pass to the next one, please. It's like a copy for Mexico because it's the same. The time that they expect to open is by July. I hope they are. The last thing I knew about them is that they are thinking to open the markets sooner than July. All depends the number of the people that they are sick and the numbers of people they are dying. And it's the same thing in the future to make business. So we will do whatever we need to do for you because we have the means and we have the way to contact companies and to contact offices of for very different business to set a business at long distance business. So we are very open to help you any way you need, because we cannot lose time and we can use this lockdown time to look for companies in Colombia, and is the same with the next one that is Peru.
Miguel,
Yes,
this is Cynthia Kane. We did a legal mission to Colombia
yes,
last year.
yes,
Maybe the year before. A very
yes.
success. We got together with lawyers and law firms all over Colombia, and
Yes,
we've seen a lot of business.
yes, there is a lot of business. Colombia is an emerging economy, and they were blooming in any way. Now, as everybody is down, but will be as soon they will start opening all the business, they will be ready to make business. And one more very important thing for you is to that all the Latin American countries, they are very interested to make business with the United States, because they always have been in contact with the different companies in the United States, and they are more interested to make that kind of business instead to make business with Europe or with the Orient. So could you pass the next one? Okay. We have Peru. Peru, it has less population, 32 million, and it's the 50th economy in the world. At this moment, I can tell you that Peru and Chile, they are the best economies in Latin America so far. But at this moment, they have a growth forecast for 1.8, and at the end of the pandemic, the forecast is 0.3. So this is one country, this is not minus something. They have a very low inflation rate, and they have in their main economic centers, they have manufacturing, mining, finance, construction, tourism, and IT too. So
Miguel, we also did a legal mission to Peru.
Yes.
And so maybe on the slides, you'll add main economic sectors, you'll add legal to that list.
Okay, perfect. I will do. Thank you, Cynthia.
You.
Okay, so if we can pass to the next one, it's the same slide, because there are no changes in Latin America with this situation. So, but they think that they could open the industry and everything by September. So we have to go step by step to see when they will be ready to open everything. But as I mentioned, in Colombia and Mexico, we are ready to do something for you immediately, because we can do it by long distance. So let's pass to Chile, please.
And we stand ready to help you in any way that we can.
Thank you. And I will appreciate a lot, and everybody will appreciate a lot of that. So Chile is the smallest country, and the population is 19 million, and it's a 42nd economy in the world. They are very good country. At this moment, we have, as far as I know, some contracts with Delaware, the state of Delaware, and Chile, to use the Delaware ports for all the Chilean imports to the U.S. And they have problems. They have some social problems at the end of the last year, but they are in the way to fix it. But now they also have the pandemic, and the situation is, as in Mexico and Colombia and Peru, the forecast will be minus 4.1. and the inflation rate is 3.7, that is very good too. And the main economic center is mining, agricultural, fishing, financial, tourism, and commerce. So Chile is a great country to make business with, and we have a very good contacts over there, and we can do whatever you need to do again to start working with them. So this is a really a slide view about the markets. So the most important thing is, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer the question you already have. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miguel. I'm just going to ask, because we have some new folks on the call that have not worked with us before. If you're new to Export Delaware, would you be so kind as to type in the chat box?
Excuse me, could you said the connection was not so good. Could you repeat your question?
Oh, I was having a computer issue. I apologize. I said, many of you are new to Export Delaware, so if you would be so kind as to type in the chat function the name of your business and what area of business that you're in, that would help us. I know, Miguel, we have several healthcare businesses on the line. We have folks that do light cures on the line. They do the medical lasers. My Med Choices, Dr. Mary is on the line, and she does, of course, telehealth. Would you be able to just touch on those for a few minutes about opportunities in Latin America for medical and healthcare?
Well, see, you see, the medical is very special. It's pointed only for the situation. For example, they need breathing machines. They need the first aid products like a mask, face mask, and all the things that the medical people and the people who are working at this moment at the hospitals, they need to protect themselves. That's what they are need in the big need in all Latin America. So Mexico and Chile and Colombia, they are buying a lot of all these products because they need it immediately. So that's the needs in the medical supplies right now.
Okay. But historically, without the pandemic, they are also good markets for medical diagnostics.
Of course, the day-to-day business, they need almost everything, because remember that in Latin America we don't produce maybe we produce only maybe not more than 10% of the equipment that we are using in the medical sector.
Great. And we have a question from Linda Conlin. Emma, would you please unmute Linda? Linda is the president of the World Trade Center, Greater Philadelphia, and her question is, I see that construction is a major sector for several countries. Are there opportunities for U.S. engineering and other companies, and in what kind of projects? She hears that water and wastewater are major sectors. Again, what's the best way to access these kinds of projects? And are they government projects?
Okay.
In our area, there's a great deal of architectural construction and engineering firms.
Okay, yes. In the past, we worked with some engineering companies from Delaware, and all depends what they are doing, because many companies in Delaware, they are very specialized regarding architectural services or construction services, or very special equipment or products for construction. Depending the company and depending the product, we will look for you or for the companies the best match in order they can start making the business in Latin America.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Linda, do you have any further questions on that topic?
Thank you. Can you hear me, Beth?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Miguel, and thank you, Beth, for giving the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia this opportunity. As Beth knows, we have a special program dedicated to identifying international project opportunities for companies, engineering, construction management, design, architectural firms. And this is also a great opportunity for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware companies, Beth, to work together. They have complementary skills and experience. And especially one of the leading sectors where they do have experience is in the water and wastewater sector. And I hear in Mexico and other countries in Latin America, there's a strong need there. And I think this is an opportunity for these companies to collaborate for as an example, with companies in Mexico. So we always like to look for best ways to identify projects of this kind.
Okay, there is a problem. For example, in this year, we helped a company from Delaware to close the deal they had in a business with the water treatment for all the water that is coming into Mexico City for the use as a potable water. So we contact and we find the right contacts for them in order they can touch base with this. This is a governmental sector, and finally, at this moment, they are only waiting for the contract to sign it and to start working. So all depends the kind of the company in Delaware that what they are doing, and then we will find the right match for them, depending if it's a wastewater treatment or if it is another kind of water. For example, there is another company in Delaware. Well, that's the same company that they have a product that they can separate the oil from the water. They have a very special product to do that and to really treat the water and take the oil out of that. They, at this moment, they are having some contracts in Mexico too. So we found the right distributor that have the contacts in those fields, and they are working with them, especially in the north part of the country, that is the city of Monterrey and the surrounding places.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Miguel.
And we partner with the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia. They're a fantastic partner, and Linda and her team have a group for architects, engineers, and construction. So if any of you are on the line, I would urge you to reach out to the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia. Linda, would you give your website to everyone on the call?
Yes, it's WTC Phila, PHILA.org.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you so very much, Miguel. And next, I will just close with letting everyone know right now, we have a trade mission planned for Chile and Peru the week of November 9th. So we're planning to go. Obviously, if we have to and the virus would get worse, we would turn it into a virtual trade mission for you. And for any that are interested, you could reach out to me at beth.pomper, Pomper, @delaware.gov. Thank you so very much. Next, let's go to north of the border and let's find out what's happening with Ludo up in Montreal.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my basement in Montreal. It's snowing today, so I hope it's better on your end. I will share my screen right now. And here we are, the beautiful capital in Dover. All right. So our office has been working remotely since March 16, and it's going well. We're a group of 10 professionals based in Montreal and in Toronto, and for the past almost 15 years, we've been working mainly with US states, a dozen of them, governments in Europe, and of course, economic development organization in Canada as well. Every year we help around 120 exporters be successful in Canada. It's a little bit about our services, but mainly boils down to getting you in front of the partners and end users you need, providing assistance to exporters from the US, Canada, and Europe, and as I said, and it's across the board in terms of different sectors. Market reports to underground missions with translators for French in Quebec mainly. We can help you. So COVID-19 has changed a little bit the way we work, of course, and also the type of services we are rendering to US exporters specifically. For some, we solve new issues like finding alternative sourcing. And the crisis brought new challenges within the supply chain. So we feel that from the different exporters we've been speaking with in the past weeks, that there's a need for redundancy and shortening a little bit their chain of value. Canadian companies, they're actively looking for new isolation technologies in the US and other markets to make them work remotely and also to secure their work environment. And one thing that we've seen specifically in Quebec, it's that the relationships between Canadians and their government significantly improved during the crisis. And this is really the case in Quebec. A little bit about Canada, big country, small population, roughly the one of California, 37 million inhabitants, 10th economy in the world, 10 provinces, 3 territories. 90% of my folks are living within 100 miles of the US border. 2 official languages, English and French. Then provincially, Quebec is the only one having French uniquely. New Brunswick's bilingual, and the rest of Canada is in English, so it needs to be taken into consideration. Usually that's the moment where I share the numbers, inflation, etc. But it doesn't make sense to say that right now because we kind of paused the economy. Like in Quebec, back in February, we were looking at a $4 billion surplus in the budget and the lowest unemployment rate in 3 decades. Right now, we're facing a $12 billion deficit, and unemployment is surging. So right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense talking about that. One thing is important is that Canada is Delaware's #1 customer, and Canada is Delaware's #1 export market. So Canada sells more also to Delaware than Saudi Arabia. Population is more in Ontario and Quebec. It's 2/3 of the population. And when it comes down to Western Canada, which is very far for us, it's roughly the population of the bigger Montreal, the metro Montreal, both in Alberta and in BC. So this map shows that Quebec and Ontario have the most diversified economies, that the prairies are very centered around natural resources, and we are a natural resource-based economy. So the oil extraction in Alberta is huge. Right now it's down because of the price of the barrel. There's a lot of opportunities for companies in the US regarding this situation. A lot of crops, a lot of meat producing, crops producing, production. And then BC is also very much diversified from life sciences to health IT, some aerospace, a lot of tourism as well. Montreal is the hub for aerospace in Canada, while Ontario on the manufacturing side is more the automotive hub in our country. Here. So before commenting on that slide, I included some more information about the post-pandemic effect on Canadian economy. I don't have a crystal ball. This is just what we sense could be good. And what we're seeing and what exporters from Quebec and the rest of Canada are telling us is that long supply chain are proven to be very problematic at large, and even more so right now. They're causing accelerated decline in certain industries, automotive, aero, and supply chain shortening and redundancy again, reshoring as well, will be buzzword soon for manufacturing companies. On the commercial real estate, maybe less office space needed, but more warehouse space for online sales. There's less pressure on some Canadian real estate bubbles like the Greater Toronto area and BC as well. And when it comes down to education, while institutions are shut down, online courses are surging, and there is learning management system needs in Canada. This is a $182 billion industry, which will grow very soon. Just in Quebec right now, the government is subsidizing. It has an envelope of $100 million to subsidize training and also pay the salary of your staff while they're having this training. So it's a very good opportunities for training companies in the US. Preparedness, do you have enough toilet paper? Not everyone did, apparently, at the beginning at least. So solutions to avoid panic buying, increased planning to avoid retail disruption. This is very important right now, an important topic. COVID-19 is also shifting budget priorities for the consumer. This summer, people won't be traveling a lot, so they're improving their backyard, for instance. And in the suburb of Montreal, what we're seeing is that there's a shortage of above ground swimming pool and trampolines and stuff like this. So there's a shift of the budget due to the pandemic. Back to our slide. Manufacturing sector in Canada needs modernization in order to improve its productivity. So there's a growing need to identify efficiencies and cost-effective solutions that are IT-based or hardware-based, and also knowledge-based, such as engineering firm. For example, the heavy vehicle manufacturing industry is looking to identify ways to increase demand. Oh, do you still hear me? I see that there's a pop-up about my internet connection.
I hear you, Ludo, yes.
All right, perfect. So the heavy vehicle manufacturing industry is looking to identify ways to demand for sustainable transportation with reduced emissions, increased fuel efficiency, developing alternative modes of propulsion. Robotics and AI in manufacturing is a huge topic right now. There's business cases for self-serve shops, robots moving packages between employees in reduced staff environments due to COVID and social distancing, telemedicine, even more so right now than before, public area sterilization via robotics, infection tracking, AI vehicles, drones, and emergency vehicles. So those are needs that are surging right now in Canada and topics that are very hot. Automotive, like I said, is much more happening in Ontario. There's big tier ones, Magna, Linamar, that are wrapped around OEMs like Ford, Chrysler, Honda. Quebec is very well organized as well with a great cluster called Pole 2T, which has a great platform to find different types of suppliers. I'll be happy to share that after. Aerospace changing a lot right now. There's new opportunities in MRO to potentially revamp planes for post-COVID-19 traveling. Montreal is the third city after Seattle and Toulouse for aerospace in the world. Major changes. We have new OEMs coming in. Now that Bombardier is out of the commercial aviation, so of Airbus and Mitsubishi that came in lately. So big changes. In terms of the IT, ICT market, it's very much dependent on imports in Canada from the US, and it's $193 billion in sales market in 2018. Digital media specifically, it's Montreal, video games, it's a world-class hub. FinTech is growing, it's an AI powerhouse as well. VR and interactive gaming, but also applied to other fields like education, healthcare, all very, very promising sectors, not only in Quebec, but also in the rest of Canada. There's a need toward the implementation of 5G to have those technologies go well, and there's opportunities for hardware providers in that aspect. Along with that, right now we're seeing more and more issues in cybersecurity. We're behind the US, so we need solutions for securing teleworking environments, but also consumer. Everyone needs it right now in terms of the phishing that's happening in Canada, not only for companies but individuals as well. Medical health IT, healthcare. The United States accounts for half of all imports of medical products and devices and equipment into Canada. The biggest topic now is finding supplies such as masks and gloves. Telemedicine becomes a huge opportunity for exporters, and even more so right now. COVID-19. Myself, right now, we have access to a telemedicine portal that is provided by my wife's companies. So this is really a way also for companies to make a difference for their employees. Therefore, there's a growing demand for the infrastructure, but also for the content. The food industry. It's 2% of our national GDP, $33.5 billion industry. Growing demand, of course, for healthier food choices, increased consumer interest for ethnic food options as a result of Canada's diverse population. Food processors and restaurants are getting rid of artificial flavors and colors, going more natural. Craft dinner will no longer produce artificial preservatives or synthetic colors. That's a big change for them. And the organic market is driven in Canada by millennials. Well, 83% of them are buying organic weekly, and the population, 2/3 of them are buying organically weekly in general. When it comes down to the industry itself, overall trends are cashless payment options, technology-driven food delivery, focus on reducing the environmental footprint of food services and operation, and again, shortening a little bit the supply chain. Current challenges for US exporters into Canada. We have seen a weakening of the Canadian dollar, drastic down to 146 Canadian dollars for $1 US. It's not been seen very often in the past 20 years. So that makes your products and services a little bit more expensive. COVID-19, there's still a lot of things crossing the border every day, thanks to our economies that are very much intricated, but people can't right now. I can't go buy some microbrewery beer in New York State right now, but there's an increased also waiting line for food and for different type of products at the border. So that's something you might need to take into account when you want to get your devices in Canada. USMCA will come in full effect July 1st. So a little bit of changes. CETA is working very well, specifically with Quebec. So there's a little bit of an issue where our companies are looking a little bit more toward Europe than the US. Dealing in French, especially in Quebec, can be an issue, and we're here to solve that. One thing I forgot to mention in terms of market opportunities, it's the cannabis industry. There's a different type of needs, and it goes to food and beverage a little bit right now that edibles are authorized in Canada. And I know that there's a lot of technologies for extraction of essential oils from the raw products, the process to integrate that into the food industry. That was the biggest topic before COVID-19 in terms of needs in the industry, because overnight we created a like $13 billion market by authorizing this industry. So that's a big topic as well. And here we are, based in the old Montreal, and also in downtown Toronto. Thank you very much.
Ludo, thank you so very much. I know Ken Cruson is on the line. and he
Okay.
had some success with us in that industry, in the cannabis industry. Right now, I would like to ask anyone that has a question for Ludo, if you would kindly type it in the chat box, and then Emma can unmute you. We have done several trade missions to Canada, and they have all been, we've done very, very well. They've been a success. And
I think we lost you, Beth.
And it would make a logical sense for that to be one of our first markets. So if any of you are interested in anything in Canada while you're home, any kind of customer or client identification, we can start to work with Ludo and start to do that work and arrange video conferencing calls for you in the meantime, before the borders open. Ludo, we have a call from, or I'm sorry, we have a question from Andy Wood from Lightcure.
Yeah.
He'd like to know, when do you see the hospitals starting elective surgeries again? And Emma, would you unmute Andy in case he'd like to follow up? Go ahead, Ludo.
Hi, good morning, Andy. Thanks for your question. This morning, there was an article in La Presse in Quebec about just that. So they are restarting, and it's by provinces. So in Quebec, it's starting. In Ontario, it's stopped. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, they're a little bit less impacted. So they're still going. The lineup is growing. And people are being delayed in terms of their elective strategy at the moment. This is the situation. So there's
Thank
a
you so much.
bottleneck.
Andy, are you currently selling in Canada?
Yeah, we are. We sell a lot into Canada, and we do have MDSAP, which is the new requirement, the regulatory requirement, which was not easy to get, involved a long audit. So we are looking to grow the business in Canada, but we're interested in knowing how our business depends on rehab. So if they're not doing elective surgeries, there's not much rehab. So that's why I wanted to know if we're seeing elective surgeries start again, that's a good indicator for our business.
That's
I could
great.
look and provide you a little bit of an answer by email to tell you, main provinces, what are they doing right now, and where it's going. If you'd like.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
That's
Okay.
great. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Ludo, we have a question from Linda Conlon from the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia. And she says that you mentioned there's a preference for dealing with the EU over the US, with the focus on supply chain redundancy and the amount of cross-trade business between the US and Canada, and the implementation of the USMCA. What leads you to that conclusion? And how do you see the pandemic affect trade with China?
Yes.
Emma, would you please unmute Linda, so in case she has a follow-up? Okay, Ludo, do you see the question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Linda, for asking the question. So maybe I misexplained myself. Pre-pandemic, the CETA agreement shifted a little bit the focus on Canadian exports and imports toward Europe. That's when a new trade agreement appears or is created, then there's a momentum being created. There's no doubt that the US remains Canada's trading partner number one, but we've seen significantly more happening between Europe and Canada since CETA has been put in place. Your question on the supply chain redundancy, yes, this is going to be hampering a little bit CETA, because right now we're going to be looking at having things a little bit more local. This is the effect. This is the effect that COVID-19 is happening. So we see a lot more, even U.S. companies going back a little bit to the U.S. or thinking how they can do more locally. Right now, trade with China, of course, with the pandemic, it changes everything. But again, within a pickup in trade with China and other partners, when there was, difficult situation between our both federal administration toward negotiations around the post-NAFTA, so the USMCA.
Great. Thank you, Ludo. And I know that Cynthia, you've done some legal work in Canada as well, and you have taken some of the Delaware attorneys to Montreal and I believe Toronto. Do you want to, do you have any plans on doing that again, or do you want to explain that to the group?
Yes, of course. We've been to Montreal with a group of lawyers and judges. We've been to Toronto. We've also been to the western part of Canada, meeting with law firms and handling different kind of problems that companies in Delaware have doing business in Canada and vice versa. Canadian businesses doing business here in the United States. Our lawyers and our judges and our courts are very familiar with a great many of the difficulties and not difficulties that the Canadians have doing business with us and we have doing business with them. And I would be happy to share the names of law firms that have expertise in doing business in Canada. And my email is the same as Beth's. It's cynthia.kane@delaware.gov. And I'd be happy to share some of the law firms and specific lawyers that have expertise in Canadian, US, and US Canadian businesses.
Thank you, Cynthia. Naresh from Bada Environmental has a question that he'd like to ask. Emma, would you please unmute Naresh and let him ask his question to Ludo?
Yes.
Hi, Naresh.
Naresh.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Staying well, yeah. I have a question. I just typed it. Should I repeat it or
Please, you can go ahead and just ask Ludo directly because it's not showing on my screen.
Okay. Look, I have a question. Is we have an analytical lab, and we do get some samples from Canada, mainly from British Columbia side, and some clients in Ontario. My question is how to build on this and build up more business coming from Canada. Apparently, there's a lot of need for analytical labs, specialty analytical labs. That's what we do. And we get samples from, like I said, from British Columbia as well as Ontario. So any help you can give to build up on this base and take it to a higher level.
Okay, so your business is analyzing these samples for those companies sending them. This is what you're selling them, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it boils down to having, just a very simple methodologies for me to understand a little bit more who is sending you samples, where they're located in Canada, understanding a little bit more the history of your relationship with them, trying to identify more of these potential customers, having you vetting them, for us to find the right folks within those companies or institutions to be contacted and say, hey, Bata is doing this. We'd like to get in touch with you to see if you're interested in connecting them to you over video calls, conference call, and when it's going to be okay, meetings in person. So it's really like identify, qualify, and connect. And you're part of the process, helping us getting into what you're doing and also having you vet the companies we are showing you before we contact them.
Thank you.
And thank you. And the best news is that this is a perfect transition to our next speaker, Jewel Lindsay from the SBA. Jewel has been very gracious to provide the state of Delaware with a STEP grant award that can pay for these services, Naresh. So we can certainly work with you to engage Ludo and under our STEP grant. So I will turn it over to Jewel. Thank you, Ludo, and welcome, Jewel. Good morning. She's gracious enough to join us on her day off. So an extra special thanks.
Good day, everyone. As Beth mentioned, I am Jewel Lindsay. I work for the U.S. Small Business Administration, which is the premier agency for capital, counseling, and contracting services for small businesses. I am the State Trade Expansion Program Manager for Delaware and other states in U.S. states and territories. The STEP program is a program that is administered by SBA. The program has many services and resources available to small businesses, and I will highlight some of those today. Next slide, please. SBA can help your business go global. Now, I know for Delaware small businesses, and particularly right now all over, there are challenges that all of you face. There are easy ways that you can get started by getting advice by one of our local advisors at SBA. We have grants available to help you find international buyers and in particular help you to expand your products and services to global markets. As you've already heard from Miguel and Ludovic, you can start now to do your research for potential customers and distributors and be prepared to get advanced products in the market to the Canada and Latin American market. And also there are financing available for your international sales. So you can contact your local export finance manager, and I've provided the websites that you can utilize to get in touch with those markets. Next slide.
And Jewel, if I might interrupt just for a quick moment, we have several service providers on the line, several attorneys and a formation company as well. And
Great.
Services also qualify for what Jewel is speaking about. I'm sorry, please go on.
Sure, thank you, Beth. Okay, so STEP, the State Trade Expansion Program, has financial awards to U.S. states and territories to help small businesses go international. So last year alone, we gave $18 million in STEP grants. This is a congressionally appropriated program, and it's a competitive one. So states such as Delaware can apply for a grant, and Delaware has been very successful as one of our grantees over the years and have helped many of the small businesses like yourselves that are on the line today. Overall, we've helped over 6,000 small business and enabled small businesses to earn over $500 billion in export sales. So to find out more information about the STEP program, you can go to sba.gov and focus on finding out where the resources are in your state, whether you're in Delaware or somewhere else. You can find out what resources are available because every state tailors their program based on the needs of your small business community. Next slide. So I'm going to focus today on 9 ways that STEP can help you to grow your business now. As a result of COVID-19, I know that there are many challenges that you are facing at this time. And Delaware has tailored a specific approach. They are being very strategic. Beth and Emma and their team are working very hard as part of their grant program to make sure that they get the resources that we have provided to you, the small business community. One way is you can translate your products into international languages. So you can basically make sure that there are more languages available for your customer base. Basically translating your products so that you can get into more markets. And we have $6,000 available for small businesses that you can apply through Beth's program in Delaware. And through the CARES Act, in fact, small businesses are able to take advantage of increased ceilings on all of the export activities that are available under our program at this time. Another way is you can optimize your website for international audiences. So we have funding available to translate your website. It was originally $3,000, but as a result of COVID-19 under the CARES Act, it was increased to $6,000. So all of our activities, the dollar amounts have increased or doubled, in fact. The third way is to design marketing materials for your international audience. You can take advantage of making sure that all of your materials suit your particular audience in terms of the markets that you want to expand into. So you've heard of many of the opportunities that are available in the Canadian and Latin American market from the previous speakers. So you can start tailoring your products accordingly at this time, so that by the time their markets open up in July and beyond, you will be ready to take advantage of those markets. Number 4, you can obtain your CE mark and complete compliance testing. This is another eligible activity under the STEP grant. So you can take advantage of getting compliance testing and completing your CE mark. You can also start the application for international IP protection. So that is something else that is allowable under the STEP program. Also, this is an ideal opportunity to follow up on previous business trips. Beth tells me of how she takes many businesses to various markets. I heard her say that she is planning on one to Peru. Is that right, Beth? In November.
Yes.
And so you can take advantage of those, as well as any that you have already participated in. You can follow up and try to take advantage of maybe increasing your export sales in that particular market. So this is a great time to follow up in different ways with previous business trips, because money is set aside for those purposes. You can also participate in virtual training. Beth has many opportunities available to target different markets and industries at this time. So our funding does allow for you to participate in virtual training, as well as international market research. This is also an ideal time to do research. You can research the Canadian and Latin American market and any others that you may be interested in, so that, you know, by the time the market opens up, you will be ready to take advantage of them. So please take advantage of the funds that are available to position yourselves and be proactive by doing market research. You can also sign up to engage in export training opportunities that are available. So again, there are a wealth of opportunities, and this is probably just a small list. There are other opportunities available, such as fees for shipping products. That has increased to $4,000. So there are many more opportunities that are available in addition to the ones listed, but I just wanted to focus today on just 9 ways. Next slide. In addition to SBA's grant program, we do have financing for your international sales. So there are loan programs. So I just wanted to highlight 3 that are in my office, the Office of International Trade. Export Express loan for export development that has a $500,000 limit. Export Working Capital is something else that you can take advantage of to fulfill your export orders. And there's a limit of 5 million. And the International Trade Loan for expanding your overseas sales capacity, which also has a 5 million limit. Next slide. So SBA, again, has many resources available. We do have additional resources available for small businesses to address COVID-19, many of which you've heard about on the news. So I didn't want to focus so much on those per se because those are already being publicized. I wanted to focus today on the State Trade Expansion Program primarily because that is a well-kept secret. And there are lots of funds available for our grant program. But if you'd like to learn more about any of the SBA grant or loan programs, please go to sba.gov for more information. You can also sign up for our export newsletter, and you can be privy of all of the opportunities and resources available. So you can just go to sba.gov/newsroom to sign up for that newsletter. So that ends my presentation. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you need to get in touch with me, you can find me through Beth. She knows how to get in touch with me any time of day. And I'm happy to assist her or your small business in any way necessary. I hope and pray that everyone stays safe and healthy during this time. And on behalf of SBA, we are here to support you in your time of need.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
I wanted to just mention that if any of you would like to apply for STEP funds, you can reach out to Emma or myself at Export Delaware as well. You would apply to us for the STEP grant. It takes 10 minutes to complete the form. It's not pages and pages and pages. If you're not sure of what you want to work on, you can always reach out to me. If you have questions now, because marketing is such a gray area, if you see something that you would like to do that maybe wasn't on Jules' list, Jules the expert, and she's the one that I would go to and say, hey, Jewel, you know, we have a Delaware business that would like to do this. Is this permissible or not? So now would be a good time for you to ask Jewel any of those kind of questions that you might have with regard to funding. So if I can ask if you would type your questions in the chat box. Does anybody have any questions about the STEP program? Okay, just to let you all know that when the borders do reopen, it also does help with travel. Travel to visit customers, travel to come on some of our business meetings and our trade missions overseas. So it will pay half of your eligible travel. It will pay half of your travel to visit some potential customers or accounts. It will pay half of allowable trade show expenses. So trade show booth space, trade show shipping of samples to a trade show. For those of you that are attorneys that are on the phone, some conferences, because you don't sell your services at trade shows, you go to professional conferences. That is eligible with Jules' prior approval. So you would have, am I right, Jewel? They'd have to send some
Yes.
details about the conference. and how they'll be promoting themselves. And then if you approve, then half the conference fee and half the travel would be covered. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And also I wanted to mention, I know you do an export tech program.
Yes.
That's another ideal program that you can participate in if you haven't already, because that will help you to really think strategically about what market and industries you want to focus on. And it will very much help you prepare in advance before you enter into market. So please take advantage of that resource. Beth has a phenomenal program that she's been running for a long time. So I encourage you to participate in that.
Thank you. That is a session where you go, there's 3 classes, 1 a month with a month in between. We host them at Del Tech Stanton campus across from the Christiana Mall. And there you leave with your own export marketing plan based on your service, based on your budget, and you also receive a mentor. So we'll be running that as soon as we're allowed to physically. One other thing I want to mention, we will be offering a professional sales training course. This is extremely expensive, and Jewel has been gracious enough to fund it. I can't make it wide open to everyone because of the cost. But if you are interested, if you wanted to reach out to me, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. We have retained a international sales firm that trains executives of Fortune 500 companies on international sales techniques. So even some of the best salespeople need to improve. Often, a lot of our Delaware businesses are brilliant scientists, but they're not quite sure how to cross over to sales. And that's why we're doing this. And this is funded entirely through Jewel and her STEP program. And we will be offering that virtually under the circumstances. Okay. Well, I believe,
That's great.
yeah. This, Emma, this will be recorded, and I believe Emma will share the slides with everyone. Am I right, Emma?
Yep, absolutely. They'll be sent out on Monday.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So we've gone 10 minutes over, and I apologize for that. But we had a lot to cover, and we hope you found the program useful. If you have questions after this, concerns, you're welcome to reach out to any one of us on the call today. So I want to thank you all for sharing your morning with us, and wish you a good day and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.